Yo, what's up, everybody? It is Tuesday, May 20th. Market was down today. Let me clean these off. How do you like getting gaslit? I'm going to give you some more today, and I'm going to show you how you've been gaslit in more things. The media loves doing this, and I don't, again, maybe gaslighting you is the wrong terminology, because gaslighting means that the person who is doing that to you, or the entity that is doing that to you, knows what the truth is, but they're doing that to you to trigger you in a certain way or have you think in a certain way. Now, I don't think that's the case, so I'm kind of thinking like gaslighting is not the right terminology for this, because I just think the media is really, really stupid. And like I said yesterday, I think journalism is an illegitimate profession. It has become. It's not truth seeking. It's not facts. It's opinion presented as if it is fact. But anyway, I'm gonna give you some more stuff. I know a lot of you on here, just looking at the comments, you know, you like being in that zone of ignorance and being fooled. And it's something that you feel comfortable with because somebody out there is saying it, or everybody's saying it. You know how many times I heard that? Oh, Mike, you can't be right because you're the only one saying that. Yeah, well, okay. So let me start off. First of all, Ray Dalio was in the news again today. Like, I'm baffled by this guy. I really am. In a way, I guess I'm not, but because I worked on Wall Street for, my whole career, basically. I saw people make lots and lots of money who I didn't think were particularly intelligent. I mean, they had other skills. Maybe they were aggressive. Maybe they knew how to cheat very well. They were hooked up. They were good sales is a thing. I was in brokerage firms where I saw guys making 300, 400, 500 cold calls a day, and just, getting customers and bashing them over the head to buy stocks, cheap penny stocks, which they would make a lot of commission on. Customers would never make. But that's a whole separate other thing. So Dalio says that the Moody's downgrade is even worse than it sounds. Okay? To me, it sounds stupid. It sounds idiotic, and it sounds like a company that has no clue about anything. And I gave you my personal story about me working at one of these rating agencies when I was at Standard & Poor's, all right? Which I got fired for being right, which I didn't really care. It wasn't really a firing. I just clashed and I actually walked away. But okay, let me talk about Dalio. So Dalio says, this is worse than the Moody's thing because the government is going to have to print money to pay its debts. And two, if it prints money, is going to be inflation. Okay, so the usual arguments are thrown out there. The bogus arguments are thrown out there. First of all, to Ray Dalio, I would say that the government spends by, quote unquote, printing money. That's been a reality since 1933 when FDR took us off the gold standard, okay? Like, how does he think the payments get made? I know some of you would say, well, China gives us the dollars, right? Well, that's, China can't get the dollars until the government makes those dollars available. Then they sell us shit and they get the dollars and they hold the dollars in treasuries. So I'm not even going to go into that because that again is a whole separate video. So that's how the government spends. It's a keystroke on a computer, and they have to spend first before they could sell any bonds or notes or bills, because the dollars have to be in existence before they can sell securities. You can't play the Monopoly game until the game distributes the money. You can't drain a swimming pool until you put water in the pool, okay? So that's the sequence. It has to go like that. There's no other way that it can go. There's no other way that it can go. Okay? And don't say it's the Fed that puts the money in there, because the Fed does not give money to the government. The Fed, when it conducts monetary operations, it buys securities in the secondary market from dealers who already own, though they bought those at auction. Those are primary dealers who are designated by the Treasury and the Fed to buy directly from the Treasury when they auction off securities. The Fed comes in after that. I mean, the selling has already been done. The money is in the system before the bonds get sold. It has to be that way. So I would say to Dalio, that the printing money, which is not, it's stupid to be using this terminology. It's like I stopped using deficit. I use net government transfers. This guy is not intelligent. I'm sorry. He made a lot of money, but, I broke it down. If you're managing $200 billion, which he was, it's easy to become a billionaire because you get a 2% management fee. Okay, right there is $4 billion a year, and you get 20% of the profits. So even if he makes 1%, that's $2 billion. He gets another 20%, that's $400 million. So right there, he's almost up to $5 billion. His power, his skill, if you want to call it that, is money raising. He got all these people to put money into his fund, which he doesn't even have anymore. I think he liquidated that. Maybe he does his own thing. I don't know. So he said the government's going to have to print money to pay to make the interest payments or whatever, or to make good on the bank. That's the way it spends for everything. That's just the way it is since 1933. Okay, we don't dig our money up out of the ground. And we don't get dollars from China or anywhere else. They get it from us. I mean, that's the only way it can be. So he's very, very ignorant. Okay, and secondly, he said that, and this is what I got some numbers here. I wrote it down. I don't have a fancy video that I put up graphics and all this other crap. I'm just going to read it off of here. And I know a lot of you, you don't like when I do this because it's facts and you want to stay in your bubble of, you're printing money, it's causing inflation and all that other crap. Okay, so this idea that, the government's going to print money and it's going to cause inflation. Let's look at some things that have actually happened. This is actual data that I got off of the Fed. So I'm going to the period, I'll do a couple of different periods, but let's start in the period of right before the pandemic, like February 2020, because with the pandemic, we saw a massive fiscal stimulus. So that was the printing money. Okay? So, and remember, the money is the debt. Okay, that's all the money that's created minus what's taken away in taxes. So that's the outstanding stock of dollars in the world. So in February 2020, the debt was 23 trillion. Okay? Now it's 36 trillion. All right. So in 5 years, we went up 13 trillion. And if you look at that graphically, there's been like no period like that where it shot up so much. 13 trillion. The dollar index. Okay. So they're saying, Dalio's saying that should have crashed the dollar. All right. That should have collapsed the dollar based on what he's warning everybody. It's way worse than the Moody's thing, because if they have to do that, print the money, it's going to crash the dollar. So, okay, let's see. The dollar index went from 98 in February 2020 to where it is right now at 100. and it just went through a big, down move. But it's still better. It's still better than where it was in February with 13 trillion printed. All right, I know a lot of you are not going to like this. It pisses you off. You got to deal with that. You got a problem. Let's go back even to the beginning, like the beginning of time, not the beginning of time, but let's go to February 1972. Remember, in 1971, Nixon took us off the international gold standard, all right? That's when other countries were still able to ask for gold in exchange for dollars. All right, so let's see what happened. And by the way, in 1972, listen to this, the national debt was 740 billion, and now it's 36 trillion. That's a 4,765% increase, almost a 5,000% increase in the money. Print money. And the dollar index it was at 108 in February 1972. Now it's at 100. So it came down a little bit. Well, what's that, like 55 years? No, what I'm talking about. 53 years. So 53 years, a 5,000% increase in the money supply, and the dollar index, which, by the way, this DXY, I'm using this DXY. It's kind of a narrow index, somebody told me it's mostly like really kind of euro based, or the big industrial countries. So it's down 8%. Actually, the Fed has another dollar index, which is a broad dollar index, and that's way up. Okay? So that's bullshit, all right? That the printing money, you had a 5,000% increase in the money supply globally, and the dollar is either basically unchanged or in the period when it really went up, and after during the pandemic and until now, it's actually up. The dollar's actually up. Let's look at inflation, okay? Let's go back to 1972. The CPI was rising at 3.8% annually in 1972. Okay, that's what we had. That's when we had 740 billion national debt. The national debt has increased 5,000%, okay, 4,765% to be precise. And the CPI right now is running at 2.3%. So, I mean, it's up to you. Like, if you want to go on with this phony, wrong, just dumb, ignorant viewpoint because it makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside, or you need to get real riled up about something, and this is the thing that you want to latch onto, knock yourself out, man. Go for it. But the fact of the matter is, it's just not true. It's just not true. And the numbers show it. But, you want to be, the media gaslights you. I probably shouldn't even use that term, like I said. The media is just stupid. It's just dumb. It's dogmatic. It doesn't do anything insofar as, the definition of journalism. It's not giving you facts. It's not, researching this stuff. It's not looking into it. It's just repeating these kind of fake things, this nonsense. That's why Trump calls it the fake news. He's absolutely right. Like, he coined that expression, and that is so appropriate. It's fake. And the bad part is, it's not even, it's bad enough that the media does it. But you got these guys like Dalio and Kramer and fucking Gundlach and Drunkenheimer and Polter. You got all these guys out there saying the same thing. You even got Fed people saying the same thing. You got Janet Yellen saying the same thing. So it's a terrible, terrible, it's just bad. I mean, everybody's being gaslit by these people, and these people, because of their status, they have no inclination to try to look into this stuff, because why should they? I mean, they're at the top of their respective fields. They're considered the super top experts. Nobody questions them. That's a dangerous thing when nobody questions them. Now, I do, but I'm nobody. And I come on here and I got, a lot of you are like, oh, Norman, he doesn't know what he's talking about, and this is happening and that's happening. Well, like I said, knock yourself out if that's your thing. If that makes you feel good inside, if you need to be triggered and get angry about something, and that's the thing that you want to latch onto because you feel miserable or your life sucks or whatever, and it's all because of this and that, and they're printing money, go for it. I don't go for it. I go for facts. I look at the numbers. I look at reality. I operate from a standpoint of reality. If you operate from a standpoint of fantasy or dogma or just wild opinion or conspiracy, it's a free country. You could do whatever you want. Anyway, that's it for today. Please like and subscribe. I'm sure a lot of you won't. And if you care to, I'll send you the numbers. I'll send you the links. If you think I make it up, I'll send you the link. Go to my website, pitbulleconomics.com. Sign up for a 30-day free trial to MMT Trader. Bye.